Hi again. Um, Welcome to Unit 2. I am doing something that not all English professors do, and I'll explain my thinking on this topic. Uh, when teaching American literature, literature in its broadest sense can include literally anything. It could include something as plain as an advertising slogan. Um, in the largest, broadest, widest, deepest definition of literature. Mostly, though, literature survey classes don't touch upon political texts. But I think it's impossible for us to understand the transition from European literature to what is now called American literature without understanding the transition politically from the founding of European colonies in what is today the United States. So I have asked you, before we even read one colonial piece of traditionally defined literature, you'll be reading Anne Bradstreet's poems. You'll be reading a Puritan diary. The Puritans loved their diaries. They're really kind of remarkable in that they believed that everything pointed to God's functioning in their lives. So let's say it was raining outside. Was God upset with you? Was God maybe crying, or had your crops been dry and now this was a great mercy of rain? They saw God everywhere, which I respect. But I suppose having a scientific-minded, more modern view of weather is shown on Doppler 2000 or 4000 or whatever the thousand it is. I don't think that every drop of rain is either God's favor or disfavor, even though storms here are awfully scary, aren't they? And you'll be reading Benjamin Franklin being pretty freaking ironic about the sanctimony of the Puritans. But before we even get to them, those colonists who are important thinkers for early American writers, I am asking you to read truly two of the earliest things written, not even on land in North America, but on boats next to the land when the people from Europe just got there. That's how early I'm taking you. The first one that you're reading is the Mayflower Compact. It's short. I find it quite moving. These people might as well be landing on Mars. They don't know what will wait for them. It is so alien to them. And they came for religious reasons. They want to found a society which is free of the corruption of the church in Europe as they understand it. And so they pledge their lives to God. They basically say, God, lift us up in your hands. We wish to be your bright people. And a later thinker on the topic within the Puritan community talks about a shining city on a hill, a phrase that Ronald Reagan has his speechwriter Peggy Ford Noonan present in an important speech he gave about the idea of what America is, a shining city on a hill. In other words, it's like a city dedicated to God. It's a city dedicated to noble things, but not so much, according to the other document. That's not quite what America is. I have a translation of the ship's log that Christopher Columbus wrote in the day he ended up hitting land in the New World and meeting the Taino people who came out to greet him with gifts. He wrote something like cotton balls and food of some kind. I'm trying to remember. I read it a long time ago. But what he says about these people is that seeing how they don't have any gunpowder, it would be really easy to enslave them. And that is clearly in his brief and unsentimental plan how he intends to arrive. He intends to arrive and enslave, to brutalize, and ultimately to commit both cultural and literal genocide of the Taino people who greeted him as a friend. It is not a joke that America is both of these things at once in our history. We are the shining city that Ronald Reagan admired, and that we desire a kind of purity, a kind of what's often been called American exceptionalism. We also apparently desire to kill people and take their stuff after we have made them work for free. That, as a global idea, is how North America is colonized. And frankly, it's confusing. We see both impulses in American political discourse, even today, I might argue. We certainly understand that we can't really be both at once, not really, and we are likely to choose the shining city or the slave state one way or another. And the literature that you're going to read throughout this course has something to do with that contradiction about who we intend to be. America is not founded just because people woke up one day on this landmass. America required a journey for the Europeans to get here, even for the people who crossed the landmass, a journey. And so who they are, you just finished reading origin stories, basically, of Native American peoples who had different ideas about who they were and why they were that. Here we see the documents that indeed point to and point of origin of the arrival of people from another place. That are, one cannot be a genocidal maniac and God's ambassador on earth acting like Jesus at the same time. We probably want both somewhere in America at all times. I'm kind of hoping you all are more on the shining city side than the genocide side. But let's be honest about our history. And let's be honest about our potential for good and our potential for ill in this land. And see what our early founders have to say. And remember these two short documents at the beginning of this class, because both matter to our understanding of even today, this minute in America. We could take a turn toward the shining city. We could take a turn toward the genocide. We could do either one. Who are we going to be today? Who are you, gentle American, going to be today? Will you choose your better nature or your worse? Will we as a community choose better or worse? I leave it to you to ponder this throughout the class and then read these Puritans and Ben Franklin making very fun of them. He had a great sense of humor. And satire is by no means a new thing in America. And one of the funniest men who lived in America, it could be argued, was Ben Franklin. Certainly one of the ones who had the most biting and frankly kind of mean senses of humor at times. And again, Ben Franklin's is going to hell as far as the Puritans are concerned. And for Ben Franklin, perhaps the Puritans already live in hell. I'm not going to tell you how to see either of these things, only to notice the contrast, which is pretty distinct. I wish you the best of success in this unit. Always email me with questions.